name is Aoife Dean and thank you so much for joining me. This is the Happy Weight Podcast. Today I want to talk about a few stories that I heard over the week from clients and non-clients, and I think from these stories we can learn a lot. And by the way, if you've listened to episodes before and you like this podcast or it's helping you, please make sure you subscribe or you like or whatever you can do. I'd really appreciate it. The first one, right? I had a client this week. I was talking to her, and first of all, actually, I think that morning I had a few long hauler clients, like in terms of like they've stayed on after the program and they're continuing like my support as they continue to lose more weight. So it's really great when people fully get it that there is no overnight success, that like over the course of at least 2 years after losing weight or as we're losing weight, we've a lot of lessons to learn. We've a lot of old experiences that we're going to be in, but now with a new mindset where we've a lot of things that we have to react to in a new way. We've a lot of opportunities to emotionally support ourselves in a new way. So this client anyway, she sizes down and she was on a girly holiday with friends. She was like, it's just mad how often the chat goes back to diets and our body. And she was like, it was a group of friends. Some of them didn't have any weight problems. Some of them did and have been dieting since they were kids. And she said what was really weird is that the ones in the group who were slim and didn't have any weight problems, they still talked about diets to the ones wanting to lose weight. And they still understood that if you want to lose weight, that dieting is the only way to do it. And my client was like, it's so weird because no one joined the dots that maybe how those slim girls were eating is why they are slim. And those girls were not following any diet rules whatsoever. They were just having a lovely time with food that was unique to their taste buds, to their body, what they felt like eating and what they felt good after eating. Yet they were still saying that dieting is how you lose weight. It was a little bit depressing when me and the client were having that conversation, because I was like, it just shows you what kind of a world we're in. Like, as in, the diet industry has gained such ground. And, I know that from clients visiting their GP or their consultant, and their GP or consultant sending them to a slimming club or telling them to go on a strict diet or something. And it's like disordered eating is so not understood. People almost see it as like weight is this separate thing that has nothing to do with you. That's just luck or chance, and that, you do a diet and you get rid of it. It's such a surface view of weight, whereas actually our weight is always a deeper issue. If we have to comfort eat, if there's multiple times in the week where we have to comfort eat or emotionally eat, or if there's multiple times in the week where we're making ourselves over full, that's not luck or chance. That's like emotional stuff and mind stuff that we need to get sorted. And there's no amount of slimming clubs or nutrition books or like rapid weight loss diet that would ever really heal those wounds. And also, I suppose my client was like, she just did her best job to just not engage in the chat at all. And I think that is the best way forward, no matter where you are on your journey, whether you have loads of weight to lose, whether you've already lost some and you'd like to lose a bit more, or whether you're at the weight you want to be. Never engage in those chats. They're not doing your friends any favors. And also, I just don't think they're doing women any favors. Just us talking about our bodies all the time like it's all we have to offer. That reminds me, actually, I had another client, and I get a lot of these calls as well, and always have. Like, I've always worked with kind of, the vast majority of my clients have always been women in their 30s, 40s, 50s. And so this woman, she's kind of giving everything to her work, everything to her kids, everything to the house. And it seems like when she's off work, then she's highly stressed and she's comfort eating or binge eating on her own on the couch late at night. That's her one little window to have me time at like 11 p.m. And then the rest of the time giving out about her body. So I was like, where is the let up? Where's the joy? So it's kind of like all stress, all hard work. And then if you are off, you're giving out to yourself for the weight that you gained, or how bad your body looks. It's like, what is the point in that? What is the benefit of that, But anyway, she's on the program now and she's happy out and she's turned into a food lover and everything is good. I do think we have to kind of, especially if we want to change our weight, we have to look at our life, look at how our week is running. And it's like, is this conducive to feeling comfortable at all? So that was that story. I think we can learn a lot from them. Another story, right? So this was a non-client. This was just someone in my outside life. They're on the GLP-1 inhibitors. They're on Ozempic, I think it is. And, it depends which medication you're on. It depends which strength you're on. It depends on the individual. There'll be a lot of varying side effects for different people and different severity of those side effects. But this person, anyway, they were on holidays and they pretty much spent the entire weekend in the ensuite of the hotel that they were staying in on the city break. And when they went to the theatre, strangers had to move seats away from them because their sulfur burps were so bad. And when they were in the plane, they nearly got caught out with diarrhea a few times. And in that story, right, and yet again, I know, there's a lot of people maybe who are perfect candidates for the injections, but there's a ton of people who are not. And I was just thinking, hearing those stories, like how physically awful, how socially awful, how, you'd want to be in a pretty long-term relationship, I would say, to not be embarrassed by that amount of sickness and needing to go to the loo and everything with your partner. I was kind of thinking in my own head that some of us will do anything to just not change our thoughts. Because like I said, it's like that's a real surface change. It's not really getting to the bottom of why would I overeat? How come I overeat a lot sometimes and not other times? And I was thinking about this yesterday actually because I was really sleep deprived during the week. I kept waking up at 3 and then being awake for hours. And then when I did go back to sleep, get that sleep paralysis thing, which is awful. So yesterday I was really tired and the food I had brought up to the office here, I was like, screw it, I don't want it. I'm going to the hot food counter in the cost cutter next door. So I got my spicy wedges and ketchup and rashers. And, that was comfort food to me because I was really tired. And I was just thinking that if I was on an injectable, what would probably happen is I would just majorly get the runs after that, perhaps, if it was a little bit too much for my body. How I saw yesterday is I think when we're over a weight problem and overeating issues, we don't have guilt anymore. We just have learning. And I have no intention of feeling as uncomfortably tired as I was yesterday. So there's no real risk of every meal needing to be a takeaway or every meal needing to come from a hot food counter because I've no interest in the discomfort that exhaustion brings anyways. So it's kind of like, I would say that's the lesson, say the overeating. And I did that a few times when I was tired over the last few days. I definitely was on the brink of very, very full, potentially uncomfortable. And that was comfort because I was so tired, I suppose. And so the lesson there is, oh my God, I need to catch up on my sleep. It would be so weird to me now to judge the eating or to count the calories or think how much fat or salt was in it or, how many points it is or whatever. That is just an alien concept to me now, guilt. But I would be doing, like I said, is that wasn't very unfair on me. That was because as in with the overeating, I did feel a bit heavier, pants tighter, that day and today and stuff like that. So like I said, it's I've no interest in feeling that uncomfortably tired. That helps remove the comfort eating. So I think it's really great to always find the origin. I listened to a really good podcast actually the other day. It was with this trauma expert. He was kind of saying about complex trauma that we might have in our youth will bring on feelings of guilt and shame. And shame is I am a bad person. That's something awful we have to go through when we have eating and weight issues. I really invite you the next time that you overeat to inject some compassion in it and try and see it from someone else's eyes. Try and see that if anyone else was in this position, whatever the position is, if you're very tired, very upset or whatever, do you think they might comfort eat? Because of course they would. So that guilt and that shame isn't deserved. And it's also a complete distraction from healing ourselves, because what we want to do is go back to, why do I do that? What leads up to it? And my understanding, anyway, from my experience and experiences with clients, is that at least 50% of the discomfort we have in our day-to-day life is because of our own thoughts. So it's not always other people, it's how we interpret other people. It's not other people's actions, it's how we interpret other people's actions. And it's like, we really have a choice now, especially if we want to get overweight problems, to have that emotional management, that if we're looking at things through the lens of someone being intentionally mean to us or intentionally excluding us or whatever the situation might be that's causing negative emotion within us, we have an opportunity there again to change the angle at which we're looking at, so that we can relieve or avoid some of those negative emotions, so that we can reduce how often we need to comfort eat. And then the last story I have for today, let's keep it short. I had a client there yesterday and she's like, I feel like I'm on my own GLP-1 inhibitor. And I was like, you are! Like, we all have really finely tuned satiety signals. It's just that we were all taught to not listen to them. So like, there's studies on young kids and even giving them 200 calories or something. I forget the exact details of the study now, apologies. But like, even giving them something like 200 calories half an hour before their lunch, they all ate approximately 200 calories less in their lunch. Like, young kids, before they hear all the noise, before they hear all the rights and wrongs and do's and don'ts and shoulds and shouldn'ts, they are really internally guided. So they are constantly, like, kids under 7 are the most likely to be a healthy weight. So they are constantly regulated. They might need no dinner. They might need 2 dinners. That's what we really want to get back to now, that we want to regulate our weight back to our natural weight. And with this lady, right, she's in a good place. She has learned the good news that you can trust that there is always nice food around the corner, that like your supper tonight can be even nicer than your lunch today, and your breakfast tomorrow morning can be even nicer than your supper tonight, and that the game can just keep continuing. That, like, you know, how long does it take for your body to get hungry? What could be delicious to eat? What could you feel comfortable afterwards? And really, when we focus on fun with food and making memories in our day with food, like making memories with food actually is literally the opposite of mindless eating. Because mindless eating is like, oh my God, when did I finish that pack? I don't even remember it. Whereas making memories is like, oh my God, let's eat this and let's put this on it or whatever. Doing your absolute best to make this a positive memory. And whenever you think about, I think, making a positive memory with food, automatically physical signals come into it. So automatically it tasting beautiful is part of it, and automatically you feeling really, really nice after it is part of that memory. So like, feeling gross, feeling lethargic, feeling uncomfortable wouldn't really be the happiest memory. And it's funny, right? Because when clients are in a good place, they'll actually say to me, this happens all the time, they'll be like, can't believe how easy it is, and God, there's not a lot to it, is there? And then I'll hang up from that client and literally talk to another client, and the other client will be like, God, there's so much to this, isn't there? There's so much to this. And it's like, there's never loads to eating. There's only loads to eating if you're dissecting everything with your thoughts, if you're overanalyzing, if you're ruminating, if you're planning, if you're categorizing as wrong or right or shoulds or shouldn'ts. So whenever you're in that mode where you feel that like, oh, it's all so complicated, eating is so complicated, my weight is so complicated, how I'll get to healthy weight is so complicated, it's like, I invite you to see that as, okay, that's your mind talking. You don't want your mind's opinion on this. Your mind is polluted. Like, if you're a grown woman in a developed country, your mind is absolutely polluted with diet industry stuff. So it's like, it's your body you want to help. So it's the signals from the nose down. And as complicated as your mind might make things, it's like, if you actually ask yourself right now, how is my belly feeling? So if it's hungry, it means it's asking for food. If it's saying nothing, it's saying do nothing. And if it's full, it's saying, well, definitely hold your horses. I don't need food yet. But the signals from your body are always pretty straightforward. It's kind of like, if you don't know whether you need to put on a jumper or not, you probably don't. If you don't know whether you need to go to the loo or not, you probably don't. And if you don't know whether you need to eat or not now, it probably means your body is busy still breaking down the energy from the last meal. So it's surprisingly simple, actually, when we look at things from the body's point of view. So yeah, I hope today's episode was a nice, helpful episode for you. And please join me again next week. Thanks so much.